This deal right here is it's a huge opportunity for us.
Okay, well, you got to figure out purchase price, down payment, interest rate, and term. Seller finance is actually better for every seller on the planet every single time. And then terms, bro, you won't even know where to start.
I do have some of those answers to those questions. Purchase price, I know he just seller financed 30 units.
So what was the structure?
So the structure of it was $5 million for 30 units, 166,000 each duplex. It was 20% down, 5% interest rate, and then it was a 5-year balloon.
Not a deal. I already know it's not a deal. Why? Market is trending downward. So in 5 years, when I got to refinance this guy out, am I going to be in a situation where I can refinance him out if the market, we're in for a hellacious situation over the next 24, 48 months, right? So a 5-year balloon is going to kill your deal. 20%, bro, I can go to the bank and get 20% down. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do I need seller finance for at 20% down? The only lever in that situation, okay, I don't know about the purchase price because I haven't looked at the rent roll, but I like that you have the information. The 20% doesn't make sense to me because that's bank money, baby. I could go down to the bank and get 20%. What do I need you for, Mr. Seller? I could go down and choose any property I want for 20%. If I'm giving you a high purchase price, you got to give me something powerful. Okay. So the way I look at it is the first two are levers that working opposite of each other, right? So if you want a high purchase price, you get a low down payment. Then the next two levers are, if you want a high interest rate, you better give me no balloon. Or even a long term. If you give me a low interest rate, I will then accept a shorter term or a shorter balloon. Okay. This guy, I like that he did 5% interest. The problem is he did a 5-year balloon. Right. Balloons are for clowns. Yeah. Okay. Now, if I would, here's where what I teach my students. This is also going to be challenging, but to educate you on this. But I would do an automatic balloon extension. So I would write in my contract that states, "Hey, I'll do a 5-year balloon with you, but if my property doesn't appraise for the original purchase price that I bought it from you 5 years prior, then the balloon will automatically extend another 5 years." What I just told you right there, Chris, is worth $100,000.
I could tell.
You ain't learning that on YouTube. You're not learning that you're not learning that in a book, a creative finance book. You're not learning that at a 3-day seminar. That's stuff that I had to come up with to solve these problems 10 years ago, right? Interest rate is fine. The 20% is too high. So a 10% deal, and think about this also, he has $50 million as a down, as his next swath of properties he wants to sell is 50 mil, right? So 20% down is $10 million. That's not chump change. Now you have a bigger problem. Here's your bigger problem. Chris, you have no brand. Right. Who's going to give you $10 million? I mean, even me with my brand, like going and getting $10 million from people to invest in a deal with me takes me 3-4 months. That's even with my brand. So you got to have a brand, you got to have momentum, you got to have a lot of people that will believe in you. There's no one single human being out there that will ever cut you a check for over $1 million on a multifamily deal. Okay, so that means you got to find 10 unicorns to cut you a $1 million check each, or you got to find 100 rare people at $100,000 each, or you got to find 200 people at $50,000 each. And think about the math on that, right? So really the down payment is going to be the hardest part of this deal. Okay. The down payment, you want to get that down payment to like 5%. And if it's at 5%, $2.5 million, damn, somebody like me could cut a check for $2.5 million right now. Okay. So if you're at 5% down, don't negotiate his purchase price, get him to 5% down. Then the interest rate is fine, but he's got to have a balloon extension. Now we can have a serious conversation, but guess what? I got to have a rent roll in a T12. Yeah. So for the 30 units, I had the rent roll because I was analyzing it first, and a buyer did swoop in and he ended up buying the seller financing structure of the deal. So basically it came to a 5.5% cap rate as it stood. Month-to-month leases, the rents were very well below market, so it would stabilize. It was around a 7% cap rate. The ARV on them was about $275,000. He was selling them for $166,000. All the roofs were 10 years or newer, and the units were Section 8 condition. Okay. So you got to get the rent roll for these. Here's what you do is go to the seller and go, the next 50 million that you want to sell, I want to be the buyer on that. We got to figure out, how do we get our down payment lower? Down payment is the most significant one of the four. Okay. I tell people all the time, I go, would you jump out of an airplane with no parachute for $100,000?
No.
Okay. Or would you buy $100,000 house for $1 million in your life?
No.
No. Okay, great answers. What if I told you the airplane was like a little 2-seater airplane that was only 3 feet off the ground and it was parked on the tarmac? I just didn't give you that information. Would you now jump out of that airplane with no parachute for $100,000?
Yeah.
Okay, so we were just missing a little bit of information, right? What if I told you the $100,000 house, the seller would be willing to sell it to you for $1 a month for 1 million months in a row? Would you then buy that house for $1 million?
Yeah.
All day long, because I'm not buying a house, I'm buying cash flow, right? I pay that guy $1 and I collect $1,000 a month. I make $999. So purchase price is not the value in creative finance. It's what I can do with it is where the value comes from. So if I'm having to come in with a big down payment, kills the deal, right? Because a good negotiator in creative finance will be able to walk into a deal and get 5% down or less, which allows you to take that. Let's say you do have 10 mil. A great negotiator could take that same $10 million and go buy $500 million in real estate with the same amount of money that you, maybe a newer person to creative finance negotiating. You're a great negotiator. You guys have proven that, right? You work for somebody else. Kudos to you, by the way. I tell people the number one way to get into real estate that people sleep on is go work for somebody else's wholesale operation for like a year to 2 years. You will learn so much. And I hope you text that person frequently and say, thank you for giving me the foundation of my education. Because what's funny about salespeople is they grow entitled incredibly quick. And they're like, I make this company so much money. It's like, no, you don't. You don't make this company shit. This company existed without you. And so salespeople come in and they forget that they're being paid. This is the funny thing, right? So check this out. In construction, your dad's in construction. It's so amazing to me that like doctors, they don't get paid till they get out of school, right? Doctors go to school, then they go to specialty school, then they become a resident, and then they start making a little bit of money after they already know how to do their job. What's funny about people in construction and salespeople is that the company that hires a salesperson has to train these people, and the people, I go hire a guy that doesn't know how to frame a house, and I got to go put him on like digging ditches, and I got to go put him on these types of things to get him acclimated to the environment. So he's getting paid to learn, whereas a doctor has to pay to learn. So I hope kudos to you for doing that strategy. I'm impressed by that. I would make sure you text that person, whoever that was you used to work for, and say, thank the heavens for you, man, because you put me in a strong position later in my life. And I'm sure you give them a lot of gratitude.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So what I would do is I would go back to the seller, find out the 50 mil, come back to me and say, hey, here's the properties he has at 50 mil. Here's his rent rolls. And then what we could do is do a second Zoom, actually underwriting those and telling you this is what they'd be worth on cash. And this is the set of terms that I would offer this person based on you actually now having the information.
Okay. So list the properties and then the rent roll.
I have a partner. I have somebody I'm partnering with that understands how to structure these things in a way that your CPA would be happy to mitigate or avoid all taxes. That'll make him happy, right? Most of the seller finance deals I do, the sellers mitigate or completely avoid all the taxes altogether.
Okay.
You're well on your way, man. You understand. You understand the components. You just got to go grab them all and then come back to me. And then what we can do is do another Zoom underwriting it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Go do the homework, come back, and let's go to the next level.